Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we're going to get a look at the first gaming benchmarks which have rolled out for the Titan X Pascal edition, which just came out today for $1,200. We've been covering it on the channel. It's rocking 3,584 CUDA cores versus the 2,560 of the GTX 1080, and that's really the main numbers that I want to focus on here today are the Titan X Pascal edition versus the 1080, and is it really worth that $1,200 versus the $600 to $700 that you're going to end up paying for a GTX 1080 there? So almost 100% price increase going to the Titan X Pascal edition, which is mainly focused on deep learning and computing, and that's its main focus. And the website that provided these numbers, GameStar.d, said that they were going to be going into all that stuff and more game benchmarks in their full review coming on Thursday, they said. But we're getting our look at the first look at the card here in action, and it is an absolutely gorgeous looking card. I love, I love these Founders Edition cards. I love the look of the style of them and all that, and making an all black looking Titan X like this looks absolutely amazing. It certainly looks the part of a $1,200 card in my personal opinion, but whether or not the performance can stack up to that, let's go ahead and take a look. So starting off with the Witcher 3, where they benchmarked that at a maximum details with SSAO and Hairworks off at 4K, we saw the Titan X pulling in 59.9 FPS, so basically an average of 60 FPS at 4K in The Witcher 3, which is no easy task, and that's going up against the GTX 1080, which pulled in 44.1, or the Zotac Amp edition of the 1080 at 50.3, which is really like an overclocked 1080, and I would say that those numbers seem, to stack up to what I would see on my GTX 1080 versus not overclocked and overclocked, because I was actually just playing the Blood and Wine DLC, and those numbers seem to line up perfectly with what I was seeing overclocked versus not overclocked on the GTX 1080. So pretty big increase in performance, about 17% improvement there. But again, that's 100% increase in cost roughly for the Titan, versus the GTX 1080. Coming down to Rise of the Tomb Raider, the gains are a little bit smaller here, only about 7%, going from 49.8 to 54.2, and that was at the very high detail settings right here using my English to German translating skills, aka Google, aka 3 years of high school German. Yeah, you know about it. And then Far Cry Primal ending up the bottom of the list at maximum detail. That pulled in an average of 55 FPS on the Titan X Pascal edition versus the 46 of the overclocked Zotac 1080 and 41 of the stock speeds. I'm mostly comparing to the overclock numbers here because that's, I consider anyone that's going to go out and spend $1,200 on a GPU for gaming, they're probably going to overclock it. That's just, my thought process there. Far Cry Primal did get a roughly 20% gain there over the overclocked GTX 1080, and we have to assume that there's going to be some more overclocking headroom there on the Titan X Pascal edition, as these are running at stock speeds. We'd have to assume, maybe another 10%, 10 to 15% gain there on top of that, so maybe pulling these numbers up to like 60 FPS on Rise of the Tomb Raider and Far Cry Primal, and over 60 frames on The Witcher 3, meaning it can power some really, graphically demanding modern titles at high and maximum settings at 60 frames, which is very impressive. It's a, beast of a card. I could do that on most games with my 1080 personally. Games I've been playing recently anyway, like Overwatch, and I've been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider at 1440p. That's something I did have to lower down to 1440 because I can't max it out at 4K. So, seeing a card like this, if it can overclock and do 60 frames at 4K, then that's awesome. Absolutely amazing card, no, not denying that. But for $1,200, is it really worth the amount that you're going to be paying over a GTX 1080 for that amount of performance increase, especially when we have to consider the very high likelihood of a GTX 1080 Ti coming very soon possibly, and maybe we're going to see, maybe they're going to remove a couple clusters of CUDA cores, so we might see like, like 3,500 or 3,280 CUDA cores or something like that, but, basically it's still 12 gigabytes DDR5X. This isn't like my speculation time here for the 1080 Ti of what I'm thinking it might be. I'd be curious to see what your guys' thoughts are, though. Let me know what you think about the Titan XP. I'm sure most of you probably don't have enough money to buy it, and if you do, then I'm extremely jealous of you, and I hate you, and send me money. And the rest of you that weren't going to buy it anyway, are you... do these numbers make you hopeful for the future, and for the 1080 Ti hopefully, which I have my eyes on. I do want to pick up a 1080 Ti if and when they do announce them. If they're putting out this type of performance and we can overclock them, then that's going to be the card I want to pick up, because I'm not going to drop $1,200 personally on the Titan X Pascal edition, as tempting as it may be. to put an all black graphics card in my Black Mesa system. Yeah, I'm just going to have to pass this time, but the numbers are damn impressive. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, today's GPU news story was sponsored by Slant.co, which is a community-based review site where you can go and you can vote on things and add different pros and cons for different devices, different pieces of like hardware, computer components, like graphics cards. Over here right now, we're looking at what are the best GPUs for high-end desktop gaming, where people are voting on things like the EVGA GTX 1080. And you can go ahead and upvote or downvote things like this, and I will link to this page down in the description below if you guys want to go vote on this and have your voices be heard. And we can also add in options like too, if you wanted to add in like the Titan X Pascal edition, which is not on the list yet, you can go on there and add something like that in. So really cool website. Thank you to Slant.co for sponsoring today's GPU news story. And I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here now, guys, and I will catch you next time. Ta-ra.